you guys, episode 1 of the Quiet Reset. Now, I do not own the rights to the music that is playing in the background here. This episode is all about why I'm breaking the silence. Okay? This is all about a soft spiritual vibe. Of course, just breaking the silence of what happened. Of course, I'm going to be talking about Cassie, okay, and the things that she just had endured, like her story touched me. So, welcome to the Reset. This is a faceless podcast for survivors, seekers, and soul healers. This is a space where silence ends and healing begins. I'm your host, September E. And today, I'm breaking my silence. All right, so segment 1, you guys, what we're going to dive in and talk about today is why this podcast exists. See, I've sat in this story for weeks. I've sat on this story for weeks, you guys. Well, not for weeks, for a few days. Just watching the headlines, and of course, I felt it was very heartbreaking. But what shook me the most wasn't just what happened to Cassie, is how familiar it is, for most, women that go through stuff like this. This is not about celebrity gossip. This is not about clout. This is about patterns, cycles of control, silence, spiritual, breakdowns, and survival. Cassie's story isn't just isolated. We have Jenna's story isn't rare. Like their stories are not rare. And if we're honest, many of us have lived in some of these versions of hell, okay? Just without the headlines. She stayed for 10 years, you guys. Another woman lost 2 pregnancies. We don't talk about that enough. The emotional, spiritual, and the silence abuse that doesn't leave bruises. I'm speaking on it, even without showing the face. How Cassie was before she met Diddy. Cassie was a young, radiant artist full of promises. She was signed at 19, full of light, voice of potential. She wasn't just Diddy's girlfriend. She was a rising star before control began. Reflecting on how predators do not allow us, they start as monsters, okay? They groom us, they filter us, and they isolate us. She didn't fall in love with a monster. She fell in love with a man who hid one. Patterns that we cannot ignore. She stayed for 10 years, you guys. In this episode of the Love Reset, I hope you guys are listening and, of course, feel healed. This is not about, just getting public recognition. This is about a Cassie and Diddy trial, and, of course, other women that may have, wanted to speak out but couldn't. Cassie accused Sean Diddy Combs for 10 years for emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Days after filing her lawsuit, it was settled, but the silence didn't return. It cracked wide open. Then came Jenna, a woman who was with Diddy for like 5 years. All right, she was pregnant twice. She was pressured. She was terminated both of those pregnancies. And of course, that kind of loss stays in the body, in the blood, and in the breath. Like, no one really can speak on that. Rumors now connect more people like Britney Spears, Justin Bieber, Usher, And while I can't confirm it all, here's what I can say. When the same names show up over and over again, it is not a coincidence in the system. It's a system, you guys. The illusions of love, the luxury of mass abuse. He gave her the world, but on his terms. He love bombed, controlled, disguised as protection, you guys. That's how abusers use their power, through fame and the lifestyle, as chains. Cassie began disappearing in front of the world, but we didn't even see it. Sometimes a cage is a line in gold, but it's still a cage. The spiritual cost of silence that it cost her. When a woman is controlled, abused, silenced, something deeper dies before her body even gets touched. Her spirit starts to dim, her intuition gets doubted, and her voice, the one most cried out in freedom, becomes a whisper wrapped in shame. The control, the surveillance, the isolation, the obsession. The lawsuit mentioned that he gave her drugs, he watched her in a hotel, and he made her perform acts for others. Oh my goodness. Just imagine. I can only imagine the pain that may have caused. The deep psychological toll of being monitored, manipulated, and violated, trauma bonded, and how victims confuse pain with love. When someone rewires your soul, you forget what freedom sounds like. Silence becomes a survival tool, but silence also becomes a prison. The emotional toll. We love to ask, why didn't she leave? That's like the biggest question, why didn't she leave? But the better question is how did she survive that long? 10 years is a long time. What did she lose to keep him calm? What part of her disappeared so that she wouldn't even become a headline anymore? The emotional toll that it took on Jenna. Jenna lost her babies. Cassie lost decades. 10 years is long. Losing babies and having to terminate them is very traumatizing. And countless women listening to this right now have lost parts of themselves in silence. The silence. Why she stayed so long? Was it because of fear? It was because of guilt. It was because of self-blame. The world loved P. Diddy, you guys. Who would believe her if she said anything about this? She didn't have any power. He had all the power. He had all of the financial power, all of the social power, and all of the spiritual power to control her. The longer she stayed, the harder it became to imagine life outside. It wasn't just about leaving him. It was about finding herself again. After years of forgetting who she was. Now, you want to talk about why she stayed so long? Those are the reasons why. She had fear. She felt guilt after, staying so long. She probably blamed herself so many times. Everybody looked up to Diddy. So she probably really felt like no one would believe what she said. This man had the power. He had the power. He had the power to control everything of hers. Her financial situation, her social life, and her spiritual life. So the longer that she stayed, the harder it became. So she probably never imagined herself outside. I believe she reached out to Justin Bieber as well and spoke to him, but then they lost contact, and he never, spoke with her for a while after that. A lot of people seen countless times of her being abused, but never spoke up and never said anything. So it wasn't about just leaving him. It was about finding herself again years after forgetting who she was. Now, this is the next segment. The next segment is I'm going to be talking about guiding visualization, okay? This is speaking to her. And this is what I want to say to you, Cassie. And I want to invite this to every woman that's maybe endured or even felt this. I want to invite you into a moment. Close your eyes. Picture the version of yourself that stayed too long. She's sitting across from you right now, tired, hopeful, scared. What would you say to her? Would you judge her? Or would you hold her? Now ask her, what do you need from me to let go? Now the breaking point, you guys, when enough becomes enough. What moments changed everything? From the lawsuit pulled from the details, it was rape in 2018, brutal beatings, and threats. In this moment, this is like nervous system collapsing, fight for flight, freezing response is probably going on with her. And then the quiet courage to take the final leave. The final break doesn't happen with fists. It happened with clarity. The moment when she realized if she didn't leave now, she may never leave at all. Which is sad. That breaks me because she endured 10 years of trying to escape, fight or flight, her emotions being all over the place, being raped, being beaten, being threatened to leave if she left, if this would happen. I can only imagine the pain and how hard it was for her to just let go and how scared she was when it came to leaving. But she got that quiet courage, and I'm so proud of her. She got the quiet courage to finally leave. Now, I do have a couple of affirmations that I want to say, of course, for women that may be experiencing this. So repeat after me. Even in silence, I am seen. Even without a face, I am heard. I survived what they'll never understand. I am reclaiming my power piece by piece. Even in silence, I am heard. Even without a face, I am heard. I survived what they'll never understand. I am reclaiming my power piece by piece. The aftermath of this, the shame, the grief, the spiritual recovery. Cassie walked away, But healing takes time, you guys. This is going to take so much time for her to heal. This, you got to think about the post abuse, depression, the spiritual cleansing, the therapy that she has to go through. This is how survivor does not walk away always healed, okay? They walk away broken and rebuild themselves. Her marriage with Alex Finn became a healing love for her, and I'm so happy. Not a rebound. She didn't just survive him, she restructured herself, you guys. Next one. All right, so the Love Reset segment 7, you guys. This is a prayer, this is a reflection, and a call to rise, okay? This is a prayer for Cassie and all the survivors and those still healing. Even in silence, I was scared. Even when I broke, I was divine. I reset, and now I rise. Cassie's voice shook the silence, you guys, and her echoes, and thousands of others are finding their voice too. And I'm so proud of her for doing this. So I want to pray for her. God, I uplift Cassie, I uplift Jenna, and I uplift the women listening right now who have never told their stories, even men. I pray for the wounds that ache, the voices that tremble, the truth that haven't yet been spoken. I ask that you protect the ones who are healing in private. Let them know that they're not alone, that their space becomes a sanctuary. And let your justice move where the world turns away. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, you guys, this is the quiet reset, you guys. For this episode, if this episode moved you guys, please share it, all right? Speak her name. Hold a space for her story. And remember that you are not invisible. You are sacred, all right? And that you are resetting one breath, one truth, one moment at a time. All right, you guys. So just talking about this and going through these things when it comes to the whole Cassie situation, her story, definitely really touched me. And I just felt the need to speak about it in silence. Like, the quiet reset is all about that. It's all about, healing of women that may have been abused. This is a faceless space for truth, for healing, for voices that have trembled too long. The episode is for women or men who has lost their selves in silence and finally found the strength to rise again. So before the headlines and the lawsuits and before the harsh money of honor, there was a girl named Cassie, and she was radiant, you guys. She was sweet. She was a star before she was even known. She was only 19 years old, and she signed to Bad Boy Records. She thought she was signing a dream, but was stepping into a cage. She didn't just fall in love with a monster. You guys, she fell in love with a man who hid one. And that's how it started, isn't it? They didn't come with fists. They didn't come with flattery, with promises. With all, I'll take care of you, like just words like that. But before she knew it, Cassie was walking around beside him. She wasn't walking behind him. She was walking behind him. She wasn't walking beside him, you guys, and eventually beneath him. The illusion of luxury, reality, and control. The world saw glam. We saw the jet rides, the Met Gala, the mansions in the hills. But what Cassie was living was spiritual captivity, you guys. In her lawsuit, as I stated before, she said that she was given drugs, watched in a hotel, forced to perform acts on men, degraded in ways too dark to repeat. But what haunts me isn't just what he did, it's what he made her believe, you guys. That she had a smile while dying. She had to smile. That she had to stay while drowning. That this was love. That's how control works, you guys. You don't even see the cage because it's covered in gold. Not to mention the surveillance, the submission, and the soul erosions, you guys. Cassie was reportedly followed. She was watched. Every move recorded, every thought monitored. This is psychological warfare. She wasn't just trying to stay safe. She was trying to survive without losing her mind, guys. Abuse isn't always loud. It can be silent. It can be very strategic. And it can be spiritual. And that part that breaks me the most is this. She didn't even know how to leave, you guys. Because when you have been made to think that your life belongs to someone else, you forget that you ever had a voice. We all ask, why did she stay so long? We ask that question all the time. This is the hard part. She couldn't just leave. But here's the better question. What did it cost her to stay? That girl wasn't just in no relationship. She was in a trauma bond, a psychological chokehold. And she wasn't just up against him, she was up against the world that praised that man. Who was gonna believe her? The soft-spoken girl over an icon. So she stayed. She smiled. And she also shrunk. And every day she disappeared a little more. I'm so happy that it was a breaking point for her. This wasn't just one moment. It was hundreds, maybe even thousands, but eventually her spirit whispered enough. According to the lawsuit on the night of 2018, he raped her, remember? That was the crack in the illusion. The love she clung to shattered. But the courage to leave, that wasn't overnight. That was years in the making. 2018 is 2023. That was private therapy. That was whispered prayers, secret planning to get out of there. That was rebirth. Because when a woman decides that she's rather die leaving than live like how she was living, that's when she becomes unstoppable, you guys. And no one can stop her. Now this girl got to go and heal in private. Cassie left. She found love again. She's married. She's pregnant. She's building a family with her 2 other children. But don't think for a second that the healing was easy. Abuse leaves residue, you guys, in the soul, in the body, and in the mirror. She had to reintroduce herself to herself, reclaim her body, unlearn fear, and believe in peace again. So not only is she going through that, she has to, relive things that she didn't want to. And she did it without clapping back, you guys. That's why I'm so proud of her. Without drama, without trying to prove anything to us. She just healed quietly, boldly, and fully. Cassie, if you ever hear this, thank you for surviving, for breaking the silence, for showing us that rebirth, what it looks like. So I dedicate these affirmations to you, love. Even in silence, I am sacred. Even in pain, I am powerful. I reclaim my voice, and I will never disappear again. And I want to say this prayer for you too. God, we uplift Cassie. We uplift the ones who still haven't left. We lift up the women who have healed in secret, holding trauma in their bodies and questioning if they'll ever feel whole again. Give them strength, give them clarity, and remind them that even if the world doesn't believe them, you did. Let the quiet reset become the sanctuary. Let these wounds carry them home to themselves. Amen. Now, you guys, this was episode 1 of the Quiet Reset. If this touched you, make sure that you share it. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you whisper it, shout it, heal it. Healing is not quiet, you guys, but it is always begins with silence. So make sure that you guys hit the like button. Make sure you guys share this. And stay tuned for episode 2. I am your host, September E. And thank you guys for coming out, watching my channel. And of course, tapping in with me when it comes to the silence, breaking the silence of what's going on. I know it's going to be a lot of headline stories about what's going on and everything. So I just like to touch on, of course, survival, the silence, of course, healing. And that's all what I'm about in this story right here. Is definitely very touching. It's very sad. But to have a voice, if she doesn't have a voice, I want to be that voice for her. And I want to be that voice for the women who've stayed and endured things like this. I want to talk about it. So thank you guys for coming out to the Quiet Reset. I appreciate your likes, your shares, and your subscribes, and of course, your comments. Stay tuned for the next segment, the next episode on the Quiet Reset. See you guys soon. September E is out.